Welcome to part 3 on the series of how I would fix the DC cinematic universe, and today we're taking a look at the Dark Knight himself, Batman. Now, here's the thing, Warner Brothers, if you're gonna make a trilogy about Batman, keep one thing in mind. You're not trying to beat the Dark Knight trilogy, you're just trying to make a good series of films. Despite critics calling Batman v Superman a dull and dour film, people liked Ben Affleck as Batman. People didn't like Ben Affleck's version of Batman in Justice League because you changed the core of his character. In Batman v Superman, he was an old, melancholy, bitter, tired old man who had lost his hope. But his hope was restored when Superman sacrificed his life to save the rest of the world. Now, keep in mind, this is just my point of view, but I feel like when it came to Justice League, you nailed certain elements of Batman. You nailed his humanity. The scene where he tells Alfred that Superman was more human than he was perfect. I liked that he made some sarcastic jokes and quips, because Batman, especially in recent years, is kind of a sarcastic asshole. Certain quips like,
"What are your superpowers again?"
I'm rich.
It's good to see you playing well with others again.
Just like a bat. I dig it. Maybe temporary.
they're great, because at the end of the day, that's what Batman would do. Those kind of quips and jokes were scattered all over the DC animated universe, spanning from Batman the Animated Series to Justice League Unlimited. But you went too overboard with the hopeful thing in Justice League. Batman does not smile. Okay, he smiles a little bit when he's Bruce Wayne, but when he's in the costume, aside from that cheeky little Batman smirk that he doesn't flat out smile, wide open, teeth showing. No, that's not Batman. Now, I loved Affleck's iteration of the character. It's kind of scary how close he is to the animated series Batman. I mean, he looks so much like him, it's scary. In Batman v Superman, particularly, Affleck just felt like the animated series Batman, but just super depressed. Like, if we finally got to see Bruce Timm make an R-rated Batman film, Affleck would be the Batman we would get. I love the costume, I love the car, I love the Batcave, it's awesome. Now I just need a Batman film. No super serious and grounded in reality films like the Nolan trilogy. I want comic book Batman on screen. I don't want a prequel movie without Ben Affleck, none of that. I just want Ben Affleck as Batman in an awesome Batman trilogy. And that is what I'm going to pitch to you right now.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
The first Batman film will be Under the Red Hood. Now I know what you're saying. Why would you do Under the Red Hood for? How are you going to make the reveal of the Red Hood being Jason Todd thrilling? And also, Ben Affleck's version of the character killed, so the Red Hood doesn't have an argument. Well, firstly, Captain America the Winter Soldier adapted the Winter Soldier storyline from the comics, and the comic book fans who knew that Bucky was the Winter Soldier was expecting it, so the same thing should be applied to Red Hood. Secondly, Flashpoint has happened in my DC cinematic universe moving forward, so if you want to, you can erase the killings in Batman v Superman. You could even go to the extent of showing CCTV footage of the car chase from Batman v Superman and have it that Batman wasn't killing anyone. He was just firing well-placed missiles, making cars turn and flip over, but nobody died. And thirdly, Batman Under the Red Hood could work with the Batman who was killed in the past. Jason Todd still kind of had the mindset of a kid when he died. He was terrified. He was scared. The trauma aged him too quickly. He went from being the disobeying and impulsive Robin to a cold-hearted, murdering machine gunning down criminals in the dead of night. So in many ways, he's lost his positive outlook on life. He's lost his hope. Ben Affleck's Batman kind of went through the same thing. When Jason died, there was obviously a turning point where Batman became more rougher, more brutal. He started branding, killing. But thanks to Superman and his sacrifice, he found the light. He found hope. So, in this movie, when we adapt the scene in Under the Red Hood, where Batman has tracked Jason to an old warehouse, and Jason has beaten up the Joker, he then starts to question Batman, talking about his antiquated sense of morality. But when Jason brings up the idea that Bruce has killed, and that he and Batman aren't so different, Bruce will respond with,
"Jason, I know what you're going through. You're scared, tired, and alone. You're tired of not seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. You're tired of living in the darkness. Tired that you haven't seen that little ray of hope. But trust me, Jason, ever since you died, I've been in that tunnel. The tunnel swarmed in darkness, but I saw it. I saw that ray of light, that ray of hope, and I found it, Jason. I found redemption, and you can too."
So yeah, there's that argument going out the window. Now, the film will basically follow the story of Under the Red Hood, i.e. Batman is patrolling the streets, and notices there's a new force at play in the criminal underworld. A mysterious masked man called the Red Hood. And you'd also adapt the scenes where Red Hood is playing this really twisted game with Black Mask, in which Red Hood is bribing Black Mask by busting up his operations and demanding Black Mask to pay him money. And meanwhile, the Red Hood knows that this is getting Batman's attention, and he wants that because he can't wait to meet Batman. So one night, after Batman has visited one of the Red Hood's crime scenes, he heads home. But on his way, he sees a young man fighting a group of guys off. Batman quickly intervenes and handles the group of thugs. He starts to question the boy. He finds out that this boy's name is Tim Drake. And Tim Drake is just this young man who lives in Gotham who is just sick and tired of the way things are run. Batman sympathizes with the boy. He sees something in him, but he tells him to leave it to the police and him. He then drives off. We then cut to a montage of Batman visiting multiple crime scenes of the Red Hood and discovering clues that may reveal the bigger picture. And at these crime scenes, he keeps seeing Tim Drake pop up. Bruce notices how Tim's fighting style is a little weak, a little sloppy. He tells Tim to stop. He's going to get himself killed. He then heads back to the Batcave. Meanwhile, at the Batcave, Alfred then talks to Bruce about this young Tim Drake. Alfred tells Bruce that this Tim kid, he's not like all the other Batman copycats. He's got fire. He's got potential. Alfred also points out that Tim knows the location of these crime scenes. He must be a pretty good detective to figure that out. Bruce doesn't respond. Bruce just sits there and thinks. We then cut to Bloodhaven, as we see Detective Dick Grayson in a gunfight. We see the gunfight end with Dick Grayson successfully capturing some criminals. And so after this long hard day at work, Dick Grayson returns home, only to be greeted by Bruce Wayne. Dick and Bruce talk. They discuss their issues, their problems. We the audience learn why Dick Grayson left Batman. Batman then apologizes to Dick. I mean, he is his son after all. Maybe it's his old age, maybe Bruce is feeling a bit sentimental. But at the end of the day, Dick Grayson is practically Bruce's son. But Bruce isn't just there to apologize to Dick. He's also there to get Dick to help him train Tim. But Dick isn't so sure about this. He thinks about it, but he doesn't give Bruce an answer. The next night, Bruce then sees Tim and tells him to meet him at a specific location. And at that location, Bruce starts to train Tim. And they're interrupted as Nightwing joins in the scene. He then helps aid Batman in training Tim Drake. Now, while Batman is teaching Tim some meditation techniques, Tim's eyes drift away from Batman as he sees Dick, who's just fooling around doing some crazy gymnastics, and suddenly something clicks in Tim's eyes. He yells out loud that Dick Grayson is Nightwing. Nightwing tries to brush it off, but Tim is smarter than that. He tells them both that he was a huge fan of the Flying Graysons and only one person could pull off that specific move that Nightwing just did. And with that, Tim puts together that if Dick Grayson is Nightwing/Robin, then Bruce Wayne must be Batman. And it's with this do we see Tim Drake's smartness being displayed. And during these training sequences, we'll be getting flashbacks to a time before Jason had died. A time to when Bruce was training Jason. And now the story starts to pick up. Batman finally gets one up on the Red Hood and discovers his next crime scene. He ambushes the Red Hood, and a chase ensues. It's after this really long chase does the Red Hood get the upper hand and stab Batman in the abdomen. And just as Red Hood is about to leave, he then lets slip a very snarky remark.
You've gotten sloppy in your old age, old man.
And it's with these words, old man, does Bruce suddenly realize who the Red Hood is. So after Bruce is recovered from his stab wound, he then travels to Nanda Parbat and meets with Ra's al Ghul. He discovers how Jason is alive. Ra's al Ghul had felt guilty as he had hired the Joker to distract Batman and Robin, but he never intended for the Joker to kill Robin. And because Jason had died, Ra's felt bad and dunked Jason in the Lazarus Pit, bringing him back to life. And so when Bruce heads back to Gotham, he sees that the Red Hood has sent him a transmission. He's captured the Joker, as well as Tim Drake. With this, Batman and Nightwing head over to the warehouse where Jason is hiding both Tim and the Joker. The scene I talked about earlier where Batman tells Jason about redemption plays out. Batman manages to defuse the situation by defeating the Red Hood. The Joker, although beaten, is sent back to Arkham, but Jason has escaped. He's come to the realization that the Lazarus Pit has messed with him, made him unhinged. And with this, Jason travels elsewhere to discover who he is. The after-credit scene will then be Talia al Ghul breaking into the Batcave, revealing to Bruce that he has a son, Damian Wayne.
Dun 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 dun.
The second movie will be The Son of Batman, which is basically Bruce and the Bat family training Damian Wayne. Realizing that Damian is unstable and a murderer, seeing as how he was brought up to be an assassin, Bruce brings in Nightwing to help train Damian as he hopes that Dick's good nature and good heart will rub off on Damian. And with this, Dick and Damian form a pretty good bond. They have a very boisterous rivalry, but at the end of the day, they seem like they're going to become brothers. Jason also returns to Gotham City as the Red Hood, but he's playing by Batman's rules. No more guns. Well, he's going to use guns, but no more bullets. He's just going to use rubber bullets. And funnily enough, it's Jason who manages to stop Damien from being a psycho killer. In layman's terms, he's basically saying that Damien is a tryhard. Oh, your grandfather's the great Ra's al Ghul. Well, let me tell you something. You say that you want to be the next Ra's al Ghul? Well, guess what? Batman's beaten Ra's al Ghul's ass over and over. And that just proves how lame Ra's al Ghul actually is. So maybe you should stop thinking like that weird demon cult. Start thinking like your old man. Now, because everyone's giving Damien so much attention, Tim feels left out. But this is part of his arc of the film. To briefly summarize it, Tim feels like he needs to become his own man. He no longer wants to become Robin, since everyone's pushing Damien to become Robin. Instead, he wants to keep the idea of being a Robin, but instead make it his own. And so by the end of the film, he becomes Red Robin. He becomes more comfortable with himself. And so by the end of the film, the four boys become brothers, which all stems from the theme of family that I want to run through all of these films. And the villains of this film can just be a couple of throwaway Batman villains and the League of Assassins, since they're so heavily involved with the origin of Damian Wayne.
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
And now, the third Batman film is interesting. Many have said that Batman v Superman kind of adapts Dark Knight Returns. It does, but it doesn't. It only takes the aggressive nature of Batman from the Dark Knight Returns, as well as the fights. So what I would do for the third Batman film is basically adapt the first half of the Dark Knight Returns. The first half being old Batman getting back into shape, taking on the mutant leader, getting his ass handed to him, going back, training, working harder, facing off against the mutant leader once more, and winning. So picture the scene. Bruce is old now. He's being Batman, but less frequently. He only goes out to deal with the big stuff. Old age is setting in for him. And with this, the mutant leader then rises to take away Gotham City from the Batman. His gang spread chaos across the streets, scaring the police force, scaring the politicians. No one dares stand up to the mutant leader. And the Bat family do what they can. Dick has even gone so far as to move back to Gotham. And so it's up to Damian Wayne Robin, Nightwing, Red Robin, and Red Hood to take back the city from the mutants. But they just can't. They can keep the people safe, but it's not enough to stop the entire mutant army. They need the Batman. And so Bruce's arc in the film is that he needs to learn to become that incorruptible, fear-inducing symbol that he once was in his younger years. And it's with this where you adapt most of the elements from The Dark Knight Returns. Now, the thing that snaps Bruce Wayne back into action is the reappearance of Two-Face. Now, Harvey has had plastic surgery like he did in The Dark Knight Returns to fix his face, but the damage runs too deep. He still has the split personality of Two-Face. And it's with this, does Harvey Dent commit a full-on terrorist attack in Gotham City. And it's with this, does Bruce spring into action, realizing that the Batman is needed. And so after dealing with Two-Face, he goes to face the mutant leader. He gets beaten horrifically, he gets rescued by the Robins and rehabilitated. After this, he then goes after the mutant leader again, but this time, he uses his brain. And then the film would recreate the iconic mud hole fight scene from The Dark Knight Returns.
You don't get it, son. This isn't a mud hole. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon.
And with the mutant leader defeated, Batman takes over Gotham City once more. The mutants no longer are the mutants, they become the sons of Batman. Batman now rules Gotham City. And so the trilogy ends with the optimistic note of, Batman has saved Gotham. Batman may be everlasting, but Bruce Wayne is not. I have a feeling that things aren't going to turn out well for old Brucey in my version of Justice League 3. I bet that grabbed your attention. Stay tuned for part 4 then, where I will tell you all my pitch for how I would finish off the Justice League trilogy. Hey, thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, leave me a comment down below. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell to stay notified. My social media links are down in the description, so if you give them a look and a follow, that'd be real nice. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.